This podcast may contain adult language, adult situations, spoilers, and some brief nudity, so parental guidance is suggested.
We have such sights to show you.
After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're gonna wish you had 10 beers.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Cinema Recall Podcast, which I am dubbing Yahoo for Yorgos. This is the series where I and a guest talk about the mini movies from Yorgos Lanthimos. Last week, it was Dogtooth. This week, we are discussing the killing of a sacred deer, and I brought along with me a wonderful cat, screenwriting teacher. He's been on episodes before. I've been on episodes of his. From the host of Pop Art, we have Mr. Howard Casern. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I am great, man. It's good to have you here, back on the show. I miss you, man. What's been going on with you?
Well, actually, I suppose the big news is, not movie related, is that in almost 2 weeks, a little less, going on a cruise to Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, hell yeah.
Spending 3 days in Sydney and then going on a New Zealand cruise where I'm going on the Lord of the Rings excursion tour. So
what goes on with that?
Huh?
What do you like? Do you see all the places where they filmed the movie?
I think so. I'm not totally sure myself, and I think there's a meal included. But yeah, I think you get to see where things were filmed. So we'll find out. I'll let you know whether it was worth the money and whether there might have been a better excursion or a better one to do. But I'm very much looking forward to the trip. I love traveling, so that's my big news.
That is very kind of cool. Australia being a fun place to see. I would be happy if they showed me all the spots where Crocodile Dundee was filmed before.
Well, I guess that's in Australia proper. So, maybe. Okay. That might be fun.
Oh, that is so cool. First of all, thank you everyone for listening and subscribing to Cinema Recall. You can find us on the whole platforms of podcast networks. We're available on Apple Podcasts and on GoodPods, Spotify, Podbean. We're available on Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio app for your iOS and Android phone. It picks up the most trending articles on the web and reads them to you in a natural human voice. Go to newsly.me, use the promo code RECALL, and get 1 month free of their premium service. We're also available every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. at FullSwapRadio.com. Full Swap Radio is a kink and fetish site podcast featured a bunch of great kink and fetish podcasters, and we are available on their Vanilla Sunday program. So check us out there. Thank you very much for that. Now, Howard, I do those sections that we do each week or each episode called Rage Corner. Rage Corner brought to you by the fine gents over at the Film Rage podcast, and either we rage angrily or rage happily about whatever's going on in the entertainment industry. And I hope you don't mind if I go first, or if you want to go first.
Please. Yes, please.
Okay.
It'll give me an example, sort of.
Gotcha. All right. So my little rage corner is a kind of a small one, and I know people that are going to listen to this and be like, I am like just complaining too much. But I really get upset when I watch a movie on streaming and it's not in the correct aspect ratio. I know it's a kind of a small nitpick, but I wanted to watch Blue Velvet because I saw that it was on Paramount Plus and Showtime, and I started to watch it, and I had to stop it because that movie is in a 2:3:5 aspect ratio, and the way it's streaming on Paramount Plus and Showtime, it's a 185 or 1/69, and just throws me off. Same thing with Tank Girl. I want to watch Tank Girl on Tubi, and the version they have on Tubi is like a different frame rate. And I know it's a small thing, and many people probably wouldn't notice it, but I noticed shit like that, and it's just a little pet peeve of mine. I hate when movies are not in the correct ratio. And if it's not going to be the correct ratio, it should say this film has been modified from its original version like they did for the pan-scan VHSs. So, like I said, I know people are going to be like, oh, you nerd, how dare you just complain about such minuscule things. But yeah, it's fucking annoying. So that's my rage corner. Streamings, please put their movies in the right aspect ratio. Yes. Howard?
Okay.
Your turn noticed by me is like, oh, you nerd.
No, it's just, in fact, it gave me an idea. I was going over different things, but you talked about a pet peeve, and I have a pet peeve. This happens both in movies and on television series. It's not important for people who aren't into theater, but oftentimes, both in movies and television series, they will have a scene from a play. And I go, no, that's not in the play. That's not representative of the play. The last thing I saw was in The Feud with the one about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. And they have this scene from Night of the Iguana, and I'm going, no, this is not Night of the Iguana. This is not. They have 3 people on stage, and I'm going, you realize that there are about 15 characters in this story, and the dialogue isn't from it. And of course, the reason why is they either didn't want to pay for the rights or they couldn't get the rights. So they wrote something that sounded like Night of the Iguana, except that it didn't remotely sound like Night of the Iguana. I think on the Big Bang Theory, they were once doing Diary of Anne Frank that you could hear. And I'm going, that's not Diary of Anne Frank. Those lines aren't, and it happens constantly, even when they are right and do all the right lines, like in To Be or Not to Be. I'm going, that's not how the play goes, because he starts the To Be or Not to Be soliloquy, which means someone leaves to go see his wife backstage. Mm-hmm. I'm going, but she's on stage right after you finish the To Be or Not to Be soliloquy, and they like an act break after that. I'm going, no, but that's a pet peeve of mine that often drives me up the wall.
I could hear that. When people just don't use the actual, and you're right, it probably has to do with maybe legal reasons. That's why they can't use the actual text, because they have to pay twice for it. But if that's the case, just make up your own play for it. It doesn't have to be that play. Just have it be a completely different play.
In The Feud, it did have to be Night of the Iguana, because that's what Betty Davis was doing at the time. But they could have done a better writing job and make it more Tennessee Williams than it was.
Oh, gotcha. So they use the play, but they don't actually watch the play to get the style and rhythm of the dialogue to mention it. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, we are just 2 older nerds that just like to nitpick about stuff there. All right, that's cool. So here's where we're going to take just a small little break right now to play some ad spots from some wonderful podcast shows, and then we'll be back after these messages.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join your host Cam Sully each week as he chats with special guests to discuss many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Good afternoon. must be Martin.
That's right. You must be Anna.
That's right.
I brought you some little gifts.
That's very kind of you.
It's a keyring with a musical note on it for Kim, because I know she likes music.
What a charming boy. How long have you known him?
Quite some time. His father was a patient of mine.
I wanted to say one more thing. I'm really sorry about Bob.
It's nothing serious.
No, it is. They will all get sick and die. Bob will die. Kim will die. Your wife will die. Understand?
No, I don't.
My mom's attracted to you. She's got a great body.
He's got issues. Serious psychological issues.
You do realize, Stephen, we're in this situation because of you.
And we're back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cinema Recall podcast. Howard, I'm forgetting something. I do this every time, and I can't believe this. I am so sorry. So, you know what? Whenever I forget stuff, that's alright, because whenever I do forget stuff, I have to talk about real quickly about Magic Mind. Magic Mind is an energy shot company, and they have this great new product called Magic Mind, and you can get your own shipment of Magic Mind by going to the site magicmind.com/cinemarecall. Get 50% off your subscription for the next 10 days with our code. So you get 50% off the first 10 days if you get this product, and it's great. What it does is boost energy and focus and crush procrastination, elevate mental clarity. Magic Mind, we're going to pull up right there, the camera. There you go. Good stuff there. Howard, did I miss you? Hello? Okay.
I'm here.
Now, okay, the movie we're discussing is The Killing of a Sacred Deer, but I wanted to ask you, before we get into this movie, what your history with Yorgos Lanthimos is. I mean, what is the first movie you ever saw of his?
That would be Dogtooth. I was in L.A., and they were having a special showing of it, not at the silent movie theater, but at some group at the silent movie theater, because there was a group running the silent movie theater, which later they had closed silent movie theater because the heads of this group, sexual harassment, but that's that. But we went and saw Dogtooth, and strangely enough, as much as I love, even though I can't ever remember how to say his name, Lanthimos, whatever his name is.
Lanthimos. I just saw Lanthimos.
Lanthimos. I should remember that. I think he's one of the greatest filmmakers now. I didn't care for Dogtooth. I thought its attacks on the bourgeois and middle-class families was very dated. I mean, it's in the 1960s once they're off-Broadway playback. And when that happens, then other things start going wrong. Like I'm saying, you aren't taught perspective. That's something you just learn naturally as human beings. So when you have the plane up in the sky and then the toy plane on the ground, he's going to know that that can't be the plane in the sky because he's old enough to have learned perspective. All on his own. He knows that. So all in all, it didn't really do anything for me. I didn't quite get what all the hype was. And then The Lobster comes out. And I'm going, oh, I'm so glad that all these people saw something in Dogtooth, even if I didn't, because The Lobster was just fantastic. And I've liked every film of his since. I did see the one he made between Dogtooth and The Lobster. I don't remember too much about it. I think I just thought it was okay. But from The Lobster on, I just think he's an incredible filmmaker.
Yeah, the one they did prior to The Lobster was Alps, and it's about a group of actors who pretend to be the deceased person of the family to help them get over their grieving process. And that's the one I need to watch again, because I really kind of enjoyed that one. In fact, I think I enjoyed that one slightly more than Dogtooth. I just remember Dogtooth because of the Academy Award nominations, and I thought, oh, this movie was to be insane to be an award-nominated movie, but I did enjoy it. I liked his other movies a lot more. I definitely enjoyed The Lobster more, but yeah, it's weird because I want to say this, that both Dogtooth and The Lobster and this one, it was written by Yorgos Lanthimos, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce the name of this other screenwriter, Filippo. Please send all your comments and hate mail to cinemarecall@gmail.com for me not knowing how to pronounce this other screenwriter's name. But when he works with this other person, a lot of the actors seem to be talking in this very sort of like monotonic robot ways. So you look at both the Dogtooth and The Lobster and our featured movie, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Everyone seems to have like this type of like dialogue style with them. But let's talk really quickly about The Killing of a Sacred Deer. When did you first see this movie?
When it came out.
When it came out, okay.
I wasn't about to let it pass by after seeing Lobster. I had to see Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Now, I remember before I even saw the movie, I remember the trailer of this and just thought it was very different. There's a young girl sitting in a pop song very quietly like they do in a lot of other movie trailers, and just the concept alone. I'll tell our listeners just really quickly about the plot of it, and I'm not going to go into major spoilers right now, but we'll get into that as we talk about the movie. The movie stars Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman, Barry Keoghan, Rafi Cassidy, and it's a story about Colin Farrell is a surgeon, and while operating on a guy, the guy dies, and he feels guilty about it, and so he befriends his son, played by Barry Keoghan, and the two strike up a relationship. And when the movie progresses, Barry's character feels that since Colin Farrell's character killed his dad, he has to make a choice and off one of his family members. And then it starts off like these kids can't walk, they can't eat, and soon they're going to start bleeding from the eyes, and then he has to make a choice. But when you first watch this movie, Howard, you don't really know that. If you didn't watch a trailer for this, you wouldn't really know what's going on. Did you see a trailer for this movie before?
I don't remember seeing one before. That doesn't mean I didn't, but I just don't remember. So yeah, I was watching it, the scenes, and I'm going, where is this going? What is happening here? And it's not really until you have the scene at the diner where you find out exactly what's going on. So it becomes interesting, yeah, when the young son, something happens to him, and then you find out what is happening, and it's both horrifying, it's pure Greek tragedy, and to me it's fascinating from that moment on.
Because I had my co-host of Cinema Recall actually watch part of this last night, and we met up with another friend of ours, and she's talking about this movie. She's like, Vern, what the fuck is this movie all about? I have no idea what's going on. Are both the doctor and that young boy, are they like in sort of like a relationship with each other? Because at the beginning of the movie, it shows like this heart procedure happening, and I really don't know at that point if someone dies or not, because the next scene we see is with Colin Farrell and another doctor talking. They're talking about someone's wristwatch. And then the next scene we see is Colin Farrell, and Barry Keoghan's character comes in, and Colin Farrell's like, have you eaten yet? And he's like, I'm really kind of hungry. I will eat this food here. And then he starts giving him gifts. So I'm thinking, oh, all right, why are they together like this? At first, I thought he was having a relationship with his character and trying to keep it secret from his wife. And then it wasn't until a little bit later on when you find out that, no, he operated on his dad, and Barry Keoghan's character is trying to get him to be his dad for his mom, because there's a great funny sequence with Alicia Silverstone's character that's in this. But it's a movie that I don't think I like this one as much of his other movies. I kind of put this one down at the lower scale of Lanthimos movies. It's weird because I find the style of dialogue that these actors use, I thought it worked much more effective in like Dogtooth and The Lobster, even Alps. But in this movie, I don't think the style worked so well. See, in The Lobster, it felt like it was like an alternate universe with these characters, and it just fit that style of it. For this movie, I don't know. I want to just hear your thoughts about the acting, the way the dialogue is used. Like, do you find it to be more effective here than other movies he's done?
Well, he's only done this, I guess, in 4 films, because he's radically changed the acting style when it came to The Favorite, and then what was the last one? Oh, that's on
Poor Things.
Poor Things, where he uses a much more traditional acting style. It brings a certain, though, as it did in The Lobster, maybe not as much in The Killing of a Sacred Deer, it brings a certain humor at first, but eventually it helps with the horror. Because when you find out what's really going on, and the acting style is still very muted, for me that makes it even more terrifying and more scary as to what's going on. I think I know what you mean. I think I can accept that, because you do have this long sequence where there really isn't a plot and you don't know what's going on. And I agree with you. Was there something sexual going on? And then eventually you find out, well, no, that's not what this is about. But, you know, the deadpan acting style contributes to that. So, I think Colin Farrell handles it very well. Nicole Kidman may get away with it more because she hasn't as big a part. I mean, she's a supporting role, so she doesn't play as big a part. But it worked for me. But I do understand that it takes a while to really fully work.
I did appreciate a lot of the way the movie was shot. It was shot by Timos Bakadas, and he actually, I'm trying to look him up right now, where he did shoot stuff, and he did shoot Dogtooth and Edinburgh. He did shoot The Lobster and Una. I did really kind of like the way that the movie frames all the characters in like very wide shots, and like the camera only plays like a certain character in the movie too. There's never a shot where characters are looking on and up with each other. It's always like up above or down below. And it almost makes it feel that this world is an alien type of a world. Like, it reminded me in a way of like David Cronenberg's Crash, where your characters are not behaving like humans. It's almost like aliens trying to behave as human beings. And I found that to be kind of fascinating, the way they did this in the style, because it's a horrific concept, but the movie somehow makes you see things on the outset. Like, you're never really connected to any of these characters, it seems like. You're just looking at people from a third-person perspective. So all these problems that are happening with Colin Farrell's character, in a way, it can become kind of funny in a really kind of dark sort of way, because when you do find out that Barry Keoghan's character puts sort of like this hex on this family that says, hey, look, all your family members are going to die, your wife's going to get sick and die, your children are going to get sick and die. There's a kind of funny moment towards the end where Colin Farrell's like, shoot, this is going to happen to my kids. I got to make a choice here. And he's talking to that school's principal, and he's like, and the school's principal is telling all the great things that the kids have done, and Colin Farrell's character is like, so which one of my kids do you like more? And I found that to be just, there's a lot of very funny dark humor to this, or when the young one gets really kind of sick, and the daughter just goes, Mom, Dad, Bob's dying. It's so deadpan. I just found it to be absolutely funny. And I'm not sure if that was the intent that Lanthimos had, but maybe it was the intent that he had to make this to be a dark comedy, because I find a lot of like darkly comic notions in this tragedy movie. And I think that's mainly because of the way that it was shot and sequences are framed and the acting. I feel like you're supposed to be looking at this on the outset and not really connecting to the characters. I don't know. I'm preaching here.
Well, I do think that he is trying to alienate the audience. And I think you're right. They're supposed to keep a distance. And sometimes I'm not sure if something is supposed to be funny or not. And I do laugh. So did the audience. When it comes to the deadpan acting, of course, this isn't really anything new. Robert Bresson and Roberto Rossellini all use that. David Mamet uses it, but I don't think it works very well on David Mamet. And then, what's his name? The guy who plays Deadwood. The guy who plays Deadpool.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he makes a living off of being deadpan on screen. Oh. So not everybody can do it well. Not everybody can do it very convincingly. I like the way it's shot too. I especially like the long West Wing walks where they're following him and they're walking, and then they turn a corner and they go way down another quarter. Camera tends to follow people walking, and they have an odd perspective on how that happens.
Yes, totally right there. Now, you saw us in theaters, right?
I'm sorry?
Did you see some theaters?
Did I see some theaters?
No, sorry. Did you see this in theaters?
Yes, I did. I saw it when it opened.
It opened, okay, fair enough. I did too, because I was a big fan of The Lobster, and I think the mistake that I had when I saw this movie, because after The Lobster and Dogtooth, I was almost expecting to just have this really comical, dark farce about this, and I definitely got that with this movie, but I just didn't expect to have much darker forms of this as I did. But this was my first introduction to Barry Keoghan. I
think it's most people's first introduction, at least over here in the U.S.
And he's gone on to do other great movies. He had a star turn in Saltburn, and he was in what's that? Oh, he was another movie with Colin Farrell that I can't remember the name of right now. Oh, The Banshees of Inisherin.
That's right. He got the Oscar nomination for that. Yes.
And I thought that was obviously another great movie too. Nicole Kidman does, I guess, fine. She's used the movie well enough. I find this movie to be kind of a tough one to sell to people, just because, it's about this doctor and he kills this patient of his and strikes up a friendship with his son, and then the son puts a curse on the family where all the family members are going to die, and then he has to choose between killing one of them. Yay! Happy, fun times at the movies for everyone. And,
right.
It's because the premise of it can't really sell people on it, but I do think it's well shot. I've seen the movie 3 times, and I still am kind of like torn on it, because I find it to be funny in places. I like the way it's shot, but I just don't really like the story that much. And I kind of fear, even at the end of the movie, I kind of wish there was something else going on. I feel like it ends just too abruptly for me.
Well, the ending is the weakest part because it makes no sense. He's not going to be out of jail. The father is going to be in jail.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know why he's out walking the streets. For me, it was interesting stylistically. And then when you find out what's going on, I went, oh God. Oh God. Because it's a Greek tragedy is what it is. And in Greek tragedies, like in life and existentialism, absurd things happen, and there's no reason for it, no logical reason for it. How does Barry Keoghan's character have the ability to do this? And he doesn't even know. He says, I don't really understand it, but this is what's going to happen. And it's like the gods have come down and are getting revenge. And it does parallel the Iphigenia story, the Greek myth, in many, many ways. There are some little differences in it. But once I realized it was a Greek tragedy, I said, oh, God, all hope is lost because you can't fight the gods.
Okay. See, I didn't realize that it was based on a Greek tragedy here. When the curse does happen, because when the movie is going through its thing at the start and you're not quite sure exactly what's going on, is you have a relationship with this person, and then Bob, his younger son, he just, I guess, doesn't want to eat anything. Just doesn't want to eat, just not hungry. And they take him to the doctor, and he gets out, he starts walking, and there's that great shot where they're going down the escalator. It's all a big above shot, and then he falls down, goes back to the hospital, and you hear from Barry Keoghan's character with him and Colin Farrell talking about, I gotta make sure everything's in balance, and tells him about what's gonna happen. First, you won't be able to eat, you can't walk, and then you start bleeding from the eyes, and then you'll die. This will happen to every single member of your family unless you choose one. We gotta make sure that everything just gets back into the right balance of things. I know that he's doing this for revenge because he's sad that he killed his dad, but if that's true, did he start doing this because Colin Farrell's character doesn't want to be his dad? Because he tries to set him up with him and his mom in that sequence with Alicia Silverstone. And I'm thinking, does that curse happen because he's not going to be his dad now? And that's why he did it?
That could be the one thing that happened that propelled Barry Keoghan's character to do that. You know, he said, I gave you an opportunity and you didn't take it, so now the gods are cursing you. I'm going to curse you. I don't know how I can do this, but you're being cursed. And life is like that. Something bad happens and you don't know why, but there's nothing you can do about it. You get cancer and you can try to fight it, but eventually so much of the time it's going to kill you. It comes out of nowhere, and that's what life is like. So here something starts happening that can be explained, that comes out of nowhere, and it's the reaction to it. And I say you can almost have anything happen in a movie as long as the reactions of the characters are true. And here I think all the reactions all the characters have are what they would have in a circumstance like this. But it's hopeless. You can't fight the gods. The gods are going to have their way.
And that's a true thing, too, you say about the gods, because Colin Farrell's character, he was drinking on the job of a major operation. Is that the great thing? Surgeons can never kill a patient, and anesthetists can kill a patient, but a surgeon can never do anything at all like that. And, I may have had a couple of drinks, but I wasn't drunk at all when I did this operation, so it's not my fault that I killed this patient. So, in a way, yes, he killed someone, and the gods are now punishing him for having killed someone. So, he may have not tried to kill someone, and gods are like, you know what? You did kill someone, and now it may be a mistake or whatever, but now we're gonna see how it really feels for you to kill someone. And his kids are getting worse. And spoiler alert here too. This is where we're gonna show, he actually does choose a person to get killed. And
well, he sort of. He doesn't exactly choose, but he does choose to kill someone.
Well, I think this is the part that I found to be very kind of funny, but in a dark way, because he ties everyone up, and he puts a pillowcase in each of their heads, and then he wears like I wouldn't say like what do you call it, like one of those snow hats?
Balaclava.
But okay, so he puts something over his head so he can't see anything. He has a shotgun, and he puts them all in a circle around him, and he just spins the circle really fast, and he pulls the trigger, and nothing gets hit. He just, gunshots happening, he tries again and again, until finally, his son Bob does get hit, and he dies. But I found that sequence of him trying to shoot to be very funny. It's wrong that I laughed at it, but the fact that he kept missing, I was hoping that he would hit like like organs of other people, and they would start arguing. You hit me! What's your better? Like hit her. I want the family to be arguing a little bit more. I really was kind of hoping that this would turn into like almost like a War of the Roses, where each family members are fighting against each other about which ones should get killed first. I also found it funny too that the daughter is telling her brother, it's like, just to let you know that we love you very much, and I love you always still, and they may have to choose you to get killed. Also, I want to ask you too about that sequence, and then also the young daughter's relationship with the Barry Keoghan character, because in my mind, I'm thinking she's believing that this guy likes her and will make her, better. And because he does in that hospital, he does allow her to like get up and walk to the window, and then she can't walk again after that. So I'm kind of confused about how the rules of this world works, and I'm going off and on different plot points of this, but yeah.
Well, he does have all the power. What's so terrifying about his relationship with the daughter is that at first you don't know. You think maybe he is interested in her, but eventually you figure out he's just doing this to screw with the father. It's another thing he's doing to torture the father, because in the end, he does have the opportunity to have sex with her and decides, no, that's not why I'm here. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing this to screw with your father, with your parents, because of what the father did to me. I suppose you could say, yeah, what are the rules here? Does he have the power to stop this completely or not? And so now that's unclear. Because if he can help her walk again, then theoretically he should be able to reverse the curse. Might be a little more interesting if he says, it's too late, I've started it. There's absolutely nothing that can be done. And so I take your point. I mean, there are certain little things that did need to be more thought. For me, the scene where he's shooting people, yeah, there are some funny aspects to it. But for me, the big issue is if you're going to do that, you're going to make it look like they killed themselves. You're not going to make it look like murder. And that's where the logic really stops for me. That's where they're not really reacting logically, because he's going to be in jail. And what's he going to say? Well, I had to kill somebody in my family because this guy put a curse on my family. And they're going to go, no, that's not, that's not, it doesn't work that way. So, yeah.
Do you ever watch that show on Showtime called The Curse with Emma Stone?
No, I haven't yet. I hear it's very good.
A lot of the style of not as dry as this movie, but a lot of the same elements, like the same type of tone. This movie feels like it could be another season of The Curse, but like with like different characters in there, because both The Curse and The Killing of Sacred Deer, they have this very upper class couple, and they get involved in something and they have a hard time getting away from it. Like in The Curse, the lead character, they're doing a home improvement show where they go to low-income towns and create houses for them. And there's like one sequence where his producer's like, hey, give this girl like money. It'll be a nice little gesture. And he does, but he wants to get the money back from her because it's his only money. And she's like, no, this is my money. And then he takes it back and she's like, I'm going to put a curse on you. And all this bad things start happening to this couple and their show. Not as dark as The Killing of a Sacred Deer, but it goes into some like really, and then the way it ends, it just is almost like with the gods. Like the gods had it out for each people in both that show and this movie. And since we don't really see Barry Keoghan's character until a couple scenes later, so after Colin Farrell's character does kill this person, and a couple scenes later Barry Keoghan's character comes out, I'm thinking in my head, oh well, this guy has been sent by the gods to teach this person a lesson. Like, you can't go around drinking and performing surgeries on someone and not pay for your crimes. So we're now going to have you pay for your crimes in a big way by having to choose who you kill. Because if you don't, everyone in your family is going to be killed. And so I found it to be kind of a fascinating way. I wish this was just a little fun short, like maybe an hour long. That would be fine. I don't think it needed to be 2 hours. But the weird thing too, like the way this movie's edited, it never felt long. Like I was never bored watching this movie. I was just more complex about how these characters all have to make sense with each other, and I found it to be, a fascinating thing. And I'm glad he made the movie, because without this, then it may have not led into The Favorite and Poor Things. So I don't know.
Well, it might be interesting to talk about the myth that it's based on.
Oh, I see. I had no idea it's based on myth, so please do.
Yeah, it's based on the story of Iphigenia, who is the oldest daughter of Agamemnon and Clytemnestra. And it's the beginning of the Trojan War, when Agamemnon and the other troops are sailing to Troy. Agamemnon kills a sacred deer of Artemis. So in return, she says, she gets all the wind to stop, and they're trapped on this island. They can't leave because the boats can't sail. They can't get to Troy. They can't start this war and get Helen back. And he has to decide, is he going to sacrifice his daughter? And Clytemnestra comes with the daughter under the pretext that she's going to marry Ajax, I think. But he finally decides, yeah, he does. He sacrifices her. As soon as he does, the wind comes up and they're able to leave. And in the same way here, the people are paralyzed in the movie Killing of a Sacred Deer, like the armies are paralyzed in the Iphigenia myth. They can't get anywhere. They can't move. And once you kill someone, now they can. It's even mentioned in the movie once when the principal says the daughter did a great paper on Iphigenia. And there is a movie of Iphigenia based on the Euripides play. The play by Euripides, though, is he was not really a believer in the gods. So the way the play works out, you come to the conclusion that no, it's not the gods doing anything, and he just happens to sacrifice his daughter as the wind comes up. So that was Euripides' version of Iphigenia. There are other kinds of myths. So Agamemnon, and this also leads finally to Clytemnestra killing Agamemnon with her lover when he comes back from the Trojan War in revenge for him sacrificing Iphigenia, and that starts the whole Oresteia trilogy with Orestes. So it does parallel pretty much so Agamemnon probably didn't know he was killing a sacred deer. He didn't do it on purpose, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter in life.
Shoot, okay.
So, yeah.
So I guess the patient that Colin Farrell's character does off of this, that was the sacred deer, and now the gods are punishing him for. All right, yeah, I had no idea that. I just thought it was a kind of a fun title. I thought the sacred deer had to deal like with the innocence of the youth, his children, because they didn't ask to have any of this curse stuff happening. I mean, all the daughter was to do is just sing in a choir, and I think the only punishment the son did was just like not cut his hair. So yeah.
Well, when I first saw it, I didn't, what does the title mean? The killing of a sacred deer. And then when we find out what's going to happen to him, Barry Keoghan gives him the lowdown on what's going to happen. I said, oh my God, it has to be a reference to some Greek myth, because this is pure Greek myth,
Yeah, and totally a Greek tragedy in a way too. Yeah.
And the filmmakers are Greek, so this is their.
There you go. Yes. I don't have anything more really to say about the movie. I just remember when I did see it in theaters, just because I was a huge fan of both Dogtooth and The Lobster, and watching in theaters, I was totally amazed by the sound design and the way it was shot. The way the score is used in this is very, almost like disturbing, and I found the use of violins just to feel almost like a horror sequence, like very much someone being attacked. There's like these loud street noises that are happening, and in a theater, I found that to be just really kind of cool, but also unnerving as I'm watching it. And the deadpan style delivery. In fact, I was trying to find, and I know I thought I wrote a review about this, but maybe I didn't. I wrote one for The Lobster, not The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Alright. But I remember one of my reviews I wrote for The Killing of a Sacred Deer, I just said the style of dialogue worked better in The Lobster than it does in this. The Lobster I found to be just a very great, fun satire movie, and The Killing of a Sacred Deer, I wish it would have done more of like the natural style, but then I'm thinking of right now, it wouldn't work. If this movie was done in like sort of like normal dialogue, it wouldn't be as effective. This movie, you're supposed to be looking at this movie like you're a god, looking at these characters going through these motions. Colin Farrell is the audience protagonist, but you're never supposed to see things through his eyes. Like, at least I thought I'm not supposed to connect with him. I'm supposed to be on the outset looking at him.
Well, I think I was going to say, I think that's very true. The only time when I really connected it with him was when Barry Keoghan gave him the lowdown. And I said, oh God, game over, man, game over. There's nothing this guy is going to be able to do to get out of this. And that was the main time I really identified with him, because I'm going, well, that's life, game over before, everybody is game over at some time. But at other times, yeah, it's an alienating, distancing. He's doing his next film with the author of this and The Lobster and Dogtooth, so I'll be interested to see if he goes back to that acting style or not.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine with it. Depends on the story, and there are some moments of a really fun dark comedy. I like the sequence where Nicole Kidman and Colin Farrell are in the kitchen, and they're arguing about how to stop this from happening, because during this point of the movie, Colin Farrell's character has kidnapped Barry Keoghan and is keeping him in the basement. And I think at this moment, Nicole Kidman just decides to set him free. Like, why did you do that for? And there's a great sequence where they talk about trying to stop the curse, and Colin Farrell's like, all I need is the tooth of a whale and the blood of a virgin and the pubis of a witch. And do we have this available? Are they around here? And starts just throwing things around the kitchen, just breaking things. And I found it to be just very, just crazily weird and eccentric and odd, and I absolutely just kind of like love it. But there's that like when they're having him tied up in the basement, and as much as he can beat him up and hurt him, he cannot stop the inevitable from happening.
In fact, if
even
he
the
kills
daughter-
him, that's it. Especially if he kills the Kogan character, that is really it. That's
yeah. But
it's not going to
that one-
stop the people from dying.
Yeah, that's still, yeah, exactly. The curse is still going to happen. Even the daughter, she thinks that she has this connection with him, and she thinks that he likes her, and so she's crawling to him, and she says, "We can go right now. We can leave. You just gotta make me walk, all right? You just come on, let's do this, right?" And like, "Oh, you asshole!" And yeah.
Well, there's that scene when Nicole Kidman goes to see Barry Kogan, and she says, "I don't understand why someone innocent has to pay for this." And Barry Kogan doesn't really have an answer for her. And he eats the spaghetti in a really menacing way, sort of, just grabs like a pound of spaghetti, rolled in his fork and eats it at once. And he says, "Yeah, sorry, I got to go. I'll be late for school and that's going to be bad." And, he says, I can't tell you why. I just can tell you what is.
He says it's like this is my only way to have justice because it was not right for. Why should his dad have to die? And that's his reason for. Hey, it's a horrible thing, but hey, sometimes people just have to die. His dad was probably a nice person, just didn't deserve to die. Just like his family members of Colin Farrell's family doesn't need to die, but that's just the way to put things into balance. And that's just the way the world works out. If you kill one person, then the gods are going to say, all right, well, we're going to take something away that you love. You killed this father that this boy did love, and now to make sure everything's balanced, we're going to take away something that you love, and we're going to do it in just this way.
The issues with the gods, though, and what makes it so difficult is that there are a lot of gods, and they didn't get along. So you could please one god, but in pleasing that god, you could anger another god and still get cursed. So it was
There's no win situation.
That's right. That's their explanation. That's their existential explanation. That's, we have our society as original sin, and now we have the id, the ego, and the superego, and all that. That's what they had. That life was controlled. I mean, that the gods didn't get along, and because of that, innocent people get killed or people get cursed, and you're going to wonder, do they really deserve this? But, in some myths, Iphigenia actually gets away and isn't sacrificed, and she becomes a demigod, marrying another demigod. So there are all sorts of different myths for Iphigenia.
Well, I'm glad that Yorgos stuck to the original Greek legend of this.
The play legend, the one that Aeschylus wrote.
Yes.
So I think he also wrote another one where Iphigenia survived. So I think he used both versions. Oh, those Greek writers. What can you do?
Well, how would you ever, if you were an adaptation of this Greek mythology, what version would you choose?
Oh, she has to die. There's no point in making the movie if she doesn't die.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And when talking about, for example, though, one interesting exception is when Medea gets saved by the gods. Apollo comes down and brings her up so she can't be punished by human beings. So she does survive that after she kills all these people, and the gods are on her side. So it's very strange. She can't count on the gods. They're almighty, but they're human in emotions.
That's a good way of saying that. And speaking of Medea, you and I talked about a movie that had that play element in an upcoming episode of Pop Art Podcast, along with May, December during our episode. So very fortunate, very happy to be on that episode, Howard. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've now started editing it. I've gotten so behind for a variety of reasons. So
that's totally fine. I look forward to when the episode does post, because we did an episode on May, December, the one with Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore. And then the other one, I cannot believe I'm forgetting.
A Dream of Passion with Melina McCurry and Ellen Burstyn.
Yes, so we talked about both those movies having to do with actors who research roles from famous people who committed crimes.
Right, in order to play the parts they've been assigned to play. Yeah.
But tell me, Howard, what would you give The Killing of a Sacred Deer? Rate the movie however you want to rate it, and then tell listeners any reason you have for them watching it. If they should.
Well, I think I agree with you that I think it's better than Dogtooth, but it's a little less than the other three he's made since he's left Greece and is making films international. I don't think I can give anybody a reason to really watch it, because you're right. It's incredibly different, and it was very divisive. A lot of people hated this film. A lot of people hated this film, and I'm not sure I can justify it to anybody. I can just say that if you can get into this idea, because a lot of people couldn't get into the idea when Barry Keoghan lays it out and says, this is what's going to happen. I think a lot of people thought that was ridiculous. And I'm going, oh God, the gods are, coming back. They're cursing this guy. And if you get into that, if you buy that, then it just becomes a really horror story. But, there's some movies and some directors that I love that I can't recommend to anybody. I can't recommend Robert Bresson to anybody. I don't think anybody I know would like him. I don't think anybody I know would like Godard. So I'm not sure I could have a justifiable reason, except that it's one of this filmmaker's movies, and it's well worth seeing even for that opinion, that alone.
Yeah, I think after all the award buzz for Poor Things, and people want to check out his other movies, if you like Poor Things, watch The Favorite. And kind of go backwards with his filmography. Watch The Favorite, watch The Lobster, then watch The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Because it's different tonally wise, but yet it does have a lot of the same comedic moments that you saw in Poor Things. It's just a much more darker and bleak. And I figured this, if you like an actor's film, watch them all. Watch them, even if you don't like the outcome of it.
Exactly.
You'll find elements of it you will like and enjoy, and you can see his styles from this movie in his other features. Like, the way the story is used abruptly, and the use of, wide angle lenses, I found to be, just absolutely amazing. So yeah, I can't really recommend this to anyone, really, and I know when I had my, when I had my co-host watch this, she was like, I can't finish the movie, Vern. It's just too weird. I'm like, you're probably going to hate the movie when it ends, but I think it's just a fun one to experience. I don't know. Like I said before, I like his movies, and I will still watch all of them, even if I hate them. So that's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, Criterion Criterion had a section of his films, which is where I saw Alps. But he has a couple of other films that might still be on Criterion that came before Dogtooth.
Oh, nice. Okay. Very cool. Alps is one that I definitely want to try to see again of his, because I think that's probably one of my favorites before The Favorite and Poor Things. So we will see. Before we do leave here, Howard, can you tell us what is going to be happening over at the Pop Art Podcast?
Well, the most recent one that's still up is with Jennifer Van Seal. She has an unusual last name, and I'm never quite sure how to pronounce it. Where we did we talked Parasite and La Cérémonie, two films about where not only is good help hard to find, it can be murder. So those are both films about villainous servants, villainous servants. I think that's fair to say, even if a Parasite. I have yours, which I started working on, which was May, December, and A Dream of Passion. I just recorded with Todd Liebenau. What did we record? I just did it, and now I'm unsure what we did. I could even think of, let me see if I have to find out real quick. Wouldn't be nice not to mention it. It is, got it. It's The Fantastic Mr. Fox, that we paired with Straight Time, which are both about ex-cons and their attempts to go straight. And then the Valentine's Day episode is with Richard Kirkham of the Lambcast, and we're going to be discussing Ghost and Truly Madly Deeply, two films where a loved one comes back as a ghost, and whether you want them to or not.
Those are great.
That because I'm so behind, that may actually be the one that goes up next, because I have to get it up before Valentine's Day.
That makes sense. I'm very curious about the Fantastic Mr. Fox and Straight Time. Was that the other one?
Yes. Straight Time is with Dustin Hoffman. He plays an ex-con who sort of tries to go straight, but realizes he just can't do it. He just cannot do it. It's the same with Fantastic Mr. Fox. He swears off stealing, but he just can't do it. It's just part of their nature. It's just who they are.
I love this show because it introduces me to other movies that I never even thought about. I never even heard of this one with Dustin Hoffman, and it sounds absolutely great. So I will definitely try to watch that before I listen to the episode. And that I've seen Ghost, and all I know about Truly Madly Deeply is got Alan Rickman in it.
Alan Rickman and Juliet Stevenson. It was written for Juliet Stevenson. It came out the same year as Ghost, but there's a very different approach to the subject matter.
And it came about a year after Die Hard, right?
I'm not that good at dates, so I'll take your word for it.
I think it came after that because I just remember seeing trailers for it. Like, oh wait, he doesn't have a beard in this movie.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I want to say it's 1990, but I'm not sure.
That probably could be right. Very cool. Well, where can people find pop art?
Well, the main ones are where most people find it: Apple, Spotify, and I always include Anchor, even though Anchor is now Spotify. But there are also other places, other streaming services where it will show up as well. So, if you don't want to go on the main ones, you can do, a search and find it.
And if people want to, follow you or see what you're doing, where can they find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram under my name, Howard Casner, Casner. I'm the only Howard Casner, I think. There might be one other now. My family's name was always such that there was ever hardly anybody else with the name. And then with the podcast. And I do have a blog called Rantings and Ravings about film. And I have 2 books of short stories I published on Amazon, The Starving Artist and Other Stories, and The One True Religion. The 5 Corporations and One True Religion. These are sci-fi, horror, supernatural fantasy ghost stories. And I have a screenwriting book, More Rantings and Ravings, of a script consultant. Oh gosh, I'm doing this off of memory, and suddenly my memory is fading.
That's impressive, though.
And you can find those through Amazon.
Gotcha. Are those, if I supposed to lead to your website, can they find links to your books through that, or?
You can. It's better to link to the Amazon page itself.
Well, I will most likely link those books right there, but I'm asking you, my good sir, if you can send me any of those links, and I will link them in our show notes as well. All right?
Yeah.
So, appreciate that very much. So yeah, check out everything that Howard Casner does. Listen to Pop Art Podcast. It's a great show. He brings on a lot of great guests, and they have great discussions and conversations. As for Cinema Recall, we are continuing our series of Yorgos Lanthimos movies, which I am dubbing Yahoo for Yorgos. Check out our last episode on Dogtooth with Kaylee from Once Over with Kaylee and Bo from Collateral Cinema. That was a great fun episode we had talking about Dogtooth. I do know that because of scheduling, I'm trying to get Ryan Luis Rodriguez to talk about Poor Things. We're also trying to, and I forgot the names right now. There's the Cult Worthy podcast wants to, not Cult Worthy. In Films We Trust wants to talk about The Lobster, but they are not able to do it till later on in February and March. And I'm still trying to find someone that wants to talk about Alps. So we'll work that out. I do know that we plan on just doing other episodes with Ashley and myself. Ashley saw the movie Argyle and Lisa Frankenstein. So we're going to get her thoughts about those movies later on, hopefully this week or next week. I'm also going to try to see a few more Oscar-nominated movies. I got to see The Zone of Interest and Past Lives and Killers of the Flower Moon. And there's one other that I'm blanking on right now, but I'll get to those later. Before we do go, I should let everyone know that you can catch episodes of Cinema Recall early by joining our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cinema Recall Pod. And this is the part of the show where I give shout outs to all of our wonderful Patreon members. I cannot thank these people enough, so I'm going to give them a shout out right here. So, big thank you right now to Donnie Roberts, who wrote the Deep Sea Anthologies. Donnie will be on an upcoming episode for exclusively Patreon show talking about the movie JFK. So we're going to talk about that movie. All the story.
I hope it doesn't last as long as the movie.
No. I want to thank Mr. Jason Soto from Rabbit Hole Podcast. Check out the Clue audio drama that I recorded with a bunch of other great Rabbit Hole Podcast team members when we did our Clue audio drama. That's over at rabbitholepodcast.com. I want to thank Linda Castro from Bed Knobs and Broomflits. Thank you, Linda. I want to thank Jeanette Mittenham from AKA Jeanette. Thank you. I gotta thank Matt and Ashley from Mashley at the Movies. I know they covered Lisa Frankenstein on one of their episodes, so check that out as well. I want to thank our good buddy Harvey Andrus. He doesn't have a site, but he likes to give us money. He's a friend of ours, so thank you, Harvey. Appreciate that. And then lastly, I want to thank Jen McQuaid from Shocked and Applaud. They are on hiatus right now, but I really hope they come back soon. Jen, Naomi, Lydia, they do a movie, but they break it up into 3 parts, and it's a lot of fun. So there you go. Thank you, everyone, for being a Patreon supporter. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Cinema Recall. Thank you to our guest, Howard Casner from Pop Art. I appreciate it very much that you were on the show, and I hope you come back on again.
Oh, I'll come back anytime.
Nice, buddy. All right. That's it right now. Enjoy, everyone, and hope there's no more Greek tragedies for anyone out there. All right. But love you all. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.